What's good, Lucky Lefty Podcast? I'm your boy Sean Davis at SD2 Mics. The Onora boys are back in the building. It seems like we haven't been with you guys for a long time. We just did a show Friday. Left is coming on shortly, dealing with Lil Left. We have a special guest today coming up in about 25 minutes. Look forward to him joining us. We, as always, are brought to you by Onora Whiskey, OnoraWhiskey.com. It is that premium American whiskey, OnoraWhiskey.com. And if you drink, by all means, make sure that you do so responsibly. Um, it's a lot to get to. The battle lines at Notre Dame, battle lines around the entire country. I would like to say congratulations to all the incumbents. Hopefully, this makes some type of change, maybe specifically at the quarterback position. There are a lot of incumbents that are holding on to jobs or at least are making it a battle with other new incoming transfers at the same position around the country. And I'm liking what I'm hearing. I'm liking what I'm hearing. Young men not running, not throwing in the towel, standing firm. They have an advantage. They've been in the system. Use that advantage. Go out, practice, play your tail off, and make the other man earn it. And that seems to be happening around the country with Notre Dame and Ole Miss leading the way in those particulars. So it's just fantastic to see that with the portal opening just last week for football for the spring. I'm just really hopeful that some natural things are going to occur to kind of slow down what we've seen in the transfer portal, not only in football, but in basketball as well, right? Like, stay, fight. Most of all, get your degree, right? Get your degree. And then if you have 2 years of eligibility left to play, that's perfect. But most of all, the education should be at the forefront, right? NCAA, right? Apple Podcast, Spotify. Don't forget, subscribe on YouTube. Go ahead. That button at the bottom of the screen, smash that. That's the like button. Helps with our views. CFB Nation in conjunction with Irish Breakdown, all of our great content. Look, we give you not audible edibles, but audible edibles too, each and every day right here. This is how we do it, Lucky Lefty Podcast, with a home of a misguided passion. You already know. We spin it different. So go ahead, send me all your questions. We're going to get into the scrimmage. Second half of the show, we're going to strictly talk about what Marcus Freeman had to say about the scrimmage that took place in Notre Dame Stadium on Saturday. And let's start off talking about what we saw, right? I'm disappointed. This is why I'm disappointed. I love playoff basketball, playoff baseball. I love playoff hockey, which is getting ready to start this week. And I rank that the number one playoffs in all the major sports, hockey, in my opinion. I just don't like injuries, man. Injuries have been a black eye on the NBA playoffs for at least the past four playoffs, not including the bubble. And it was a factor even in the bubble. And man, I'm all for maybe shortening the season. If they going above and beyond, like giving these guys days in between games, and stretching out the schedule, things of that nature. Man, it's up to the athletes to take care of themselves, man. And I know some of these injuries are freak injuries. The two falls yesterday, which were devastating falls for Giannis Antetokounmpo and also Ja Morant. I guess that's just what they both play hard, go to the cup hard. That's what happens sometimes when guys try to take charges on you. But it's just disappointing, man. It's just disappointing. I am totally excited. Game 2 tonight out in Sacktown. Totally excited with this Bay Area series between the Kings and the Golden State Warriors. Just love what I saw. If you can give me 5 to 6 games of that, I don't care who wins. That's just very entertaining basketball. High level offensive basketball. Not a lot of defense, but high level skill, high level guard play, high level shooting, just high level offensive basketball. It's very entertaining, very appeasing to the eye, and can bring a lot of not just NBA fans, but just your everyday sports fans can enjoy a series like that. I mean, Boston, what they did to Atlanta, what's to be expected. Philly's probably going to do the same thing in game two to Brooklyn. But look, that series, Golden State and Sacramento, takes me back to maybe like early 80s when you had Doug Moe and his Denver Nuggets and Showtime in LA and the Dallas Mavericks with Mark Aguirre, Rolando Blackman, Derek Harper, Roy Tarpley, and teams were just running up and down the court, shooting 80% less three-pointers and scoring the same amount of points. Like, think about that. There were teams not taking advantage of the three-point arc, but still putting up the same efficiency and the same amount of points in the game. So, it's many ways to skin a cat, right? We talk about how Lou Holtz, running the ball the majority of the time, still was able to put up just as many points as Brian Kelly and his offenses in the Brian Kelly era. So, absolutely amazing. As I said before, Left's going to be on shortly. We do have a special guest that's going to be joining us in about 18 minutes now. 18 minutes now to talk about golfing with the legends. Notre Dame versus Navy 2023, August 21st through August the 28th, 2023. Come play 3 rounds of seaside golf with iconic Irish players and iconic Irish golf courses on a trip of a lifetime. Pricing and more information is at executiveglobaltours.com/Notre Dame. executiveglobaltours.com/Notre Dame or at exec_tours and 914-979-2247. Golfing with the Legends over in Ireland. Notre Dame versus Navy 2023. Non-golfing packages and golfing packages. Call them and let them know you're interested so you can get more information. Check it out. But other than that, that was my take from the weekend, right? I'll leave it at that. Follow 27, thank you for your comment. What's up, G. Roby? Yo, SD, Chicago getting crazy. You be careful, my brother. You and your family. Be safe. I don't know if you're talking about the weather, which is absolutely beautiful. I actually went to an outside roof out there in the burbs and watched basketball with my wife and had a nice lunch. It was 82 degrees for like 3 consecutive days. And then yesterday, it dropped down and it snowed. Only in Chicago. So you talk about the weather, yeah. And other than that, I don't know anything else. I'm fine. Yeah. Truman, thank you for the super chat. Is it realistically possible for Kenny Minchie to play so good that he literally overthrows the other quarterbacks and wins the starting job? Has this scenario occurred in Notre Dame football? No, there is no way that Kenny Minchie is going to start as a true freshman. That would be inconsiderate of the young man as a coaching staff, especially with 2 established starters in the quarterback room. I would almost call that malpractice by the coaching staff if they would have put Kenny Minchie in that position in his freshman year. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. I agree with you, Jay Carr. Kings playoff games are electric. Haven't seen that in my lifetime. Hey, light the beam, right? Light the beam. That's the thing that they have when they win at home. They hit this button and lights up the beam outside, which is pretty cool. So we're gonna get to some other things on the other side. like I said, with Marcus Freeman, I want to get to and break down this Lorenzo Styles situation because I feel like I can bring some clarity to the situation. A lot of people seem to be confused and miffed by what's going on. And um, that's all. Just want to get some clarity to it. Because I thought Marcus Freeman, in my opinion, had an opportunity to give clarity. And he said some things that kind of left things a little open, in my opinion, for interpretation. And want to get some clarity on that. So let's talk about what happened Saturday, right? One of the things that stood out, quarterback play, right? One of the things you heard is one of the things we said, right? I said in multiple practices that I viewed that it was a tug of war back and forth, right? The offense would dominate early, offensive line would dominate early, and then the defensive line would come back and dominate, and then they would get into these battles at the end to see who would ultimately win the practice for the day. And so that was right to the script, as Marcus Freeman talked about after the scrimmage on Saturday. It was good for them to get into that stadium and kind of have a dress rehearsal before the actual blue and gold game coming up this weekend, which should be fantastic. Hopefully, the weather will be decent. Will be decent, right? I heard it was about 60 degrees this weekend on Friday and Saturday down the South Bend. So if it can stay around that 50, 60-degree range, that should be good enough. Now, if you want to get up to 80, Mother Nature, we would greatly appreciate that. South Bend area coming up this weekend. But I think what you've seen from this 2023 team right now is that they are very much a team that can win multiple ways, right? What we've seen historically with Notre Dame, I would say over the last decade, is that their defense is good enough to keep them in games. And then the spotty offense against the mid-level, the bad teams, would explode. And then better teams, they would kind of struggle, right? They would even struggle with teams of lesser competition or lesser teams, shall I say, at some point in some time. And we kind of saw that last year, right? First year of Marcus Freeman, Stanford, Marshall, offense struggles, Ohio State offense struggles, Cal, first half, offense struggles. Second half, they turn things around with the offensive line and the running game. And then they go into North Carolina and put together one of their most complete games all season. I would compare the top three games, I think, would be North Carolina, Clemson, and Syracuse. And I will leave it up to you guys, LL Nation. Out of those three games, which do you think was the most complete? Right? Because the first 2.5 quarters of North Carolina was near flawless. And then all of a sudden, the defense gave up some big plays and the game became much closer than it needed to be. You had the Clemson game where the defense just kind of dominated along with special teams. Offense did what they had to do, especially on the ground. They dominated up front. So you can say the Clemson game. And then the Syracuse game, I mean, you can't beat first play of the game, pick six. They got some help, special teams, blocked the punt, made some big pass plays. Michael Mayer had one. And the defense pretty much they gave up a little bit in the third quarter, but then they held on to win the game. In my opinion, those would be the three candidates for the most complete games of the year. But you move from that, and I think this staff expects much more. Now, this is the crazy thing, right? The staff can expect something, and I remember talking to Chris O'Leary last year before the season, and Chris O'Leary was talking about championship pedigree and championship expectations. And I said, does that come from you guys or does that come from the players? And he said, man, look, when you're talking about players that have been to multiple playoffs, they expect nothing less, right? So I believe the players within this program there are still a few that have been a part of a playoff team going back to 20. But even after that, this team was pretty young. So with Marcus Freeman, there's a clean slate. And we talked about it, like the slate being murky a little bit because of coaches and things and different opinions and what happened with Al Washington in the defensive line room. Those were things that they just had to deal with in transition. We'll get to it in the second half when Marcus Freeman talks about things being much smoother and much easier with the coaching staff this year in his second year. And I think I talked about it last week. In my opinion, Marcus Freeman is much more comfortable in his skin as a head coach, much more comfortable in his skin as a head coach. So when you have that, you have to feel good about how the staff is going to go ahead and move because they're moving with the flow that Marcus Freeman moves with. Well, I want to talk about that as well. We welcome in our guy, the real lucky Lefty Left. What's good, man?
We here with it. We here with it.
Always. So, they had a scrimmage dress rehearsal Saturday.
Okay. It was in
Marcus
a
Freeman. Yeah, it was in the stadium. It was kind of a dress rehearsal. You actually were at the dress rehearsal
last year
because the dress rehearsal last year was like the practice
day
before.
before the game. Yeah,
Right. It was kind of like that Thursday, or was it? It was that Thursday, right?
Friday.
It was that Friday. Okay.
No. One of them days.
I thought it was that Thursday.
Yeah.
I thought they had the dress rehearsal that Thursday, and then they checked out, had a day off, and then came back and played on Saturday.
Mm.
What's the benefit of having a dress rehearsal?
Just more practice. I mean, I just think for guys to be able to get in the stadium and run around and take it all in, I think it was cool. For the young guys, for the older guys, you just trying to get to the game.
You know what? I watched a lot of spring games this weekend. There were a lot of veterans that did not play on other teams. I'm
Right.
talking about guys that practiced during the spring. But when they got to the spring game, it was like, no, y'all
It's
good.
low management culture thing. You know how that goes.
Man, you know how it is. Marcus Freeman in his second year, I don't think he's in that position to have a program that he's built up enough to where he can just tell guys, you know what? Nah, my starters, they don't need to play.
We don't have any players that deserve to be like that. So
Other than maybe just sitting out Cam just because. Like, we
not
don't even
even
want him to.
Cam healthy, put him in there.
Yeah, if he's healthy, put him in there. I agree. So, have some injury news. We want to say someone that we had grown fond of and had looked forward to possibly having on during the season weekly. Uh, Virginia Tech wide receiver transfer Caleb Smith had to medically retire from football, and that's tough, man. I can't imagine transferring to a school and then battling injuries all spring to the point where you're staring your football mortality in the face as a young athlete. Like, he's still a young man, Left. He's still in his early 20s, man, having to stare his football mortality in the face. That's tough. My prayers go out to him and his fiance and all of their endeavors and whatever they're doing. And heck, if he walks away with a master's from the University of Notre Dame, hey, it's a win. It's a win-win, even though he didn't win in a game of football.
What was the medical injury?
Hey, they didn't get into the particulars.
Was it depth chart?
I know it wasn't that because he did struggle with something early on, and we rarely saw him in practices. We hadn't seen him in practice for like a week, right? Remember, everybody was stressing about Prince Collie not being in practice, like, oh, he's transferring. And finally, Marcus Freeman released it on Saturday. He's been in concussion protocol.
Mm.
right? Which is the same thing that another player, which everybody was sweating for a while, he was in the same type of protocol. We just couldn't say anything about it. So when you go into concussion protocol right now in a big time college program, you might as well say you're not going to see a kid for almost 2 weeks.
This is all good content for Peacock because we should have known this. We should have had some inside info about Caleb Smith through Peacock, man. They slipping on their content opportunities.
I got Jay Henry as we get ready for our guest that's coming up in a few moments. SD, did any of the spring games impress you? Cal McCord looked a little bit off, but it's early. Um, like I said, Ohio State didn't play a lot of their starters defensively. So, you really couldn't tell. They had a lot of their backups up in the front seven. So I'll tell you one thing, though, that dude Cardell Tate's gonna be a problem. I can tell you that. I can tell you that. He's running with the first group. It's him, Harrison, Abuka, and it's Abuka, Harrison, and Tate as the top three receivers. He's a true freshman. He's gonna be a problem. The quarterback situation, I agree with you, Jay Henry. Neither one of their quarterbacks. Devin Brown didn't play due to injury,
Right.
and Kyle McCord you said it best. He's a step down from what they've had in the
Yeah,
previous
just an
two
average
quarterbacks.
dude. Yeah, I mean, one is hard to be able to get 6, 7 in a row generational talent quarterbacks. So on a realistic level, it had to have ended at some point. Now with Kyle McCord, he's just a guy that's good in shirts and shorts, but it's the intangible it factor that you can't test on the field that if you got a dude or not. And he's just not that dude. He can be good, a solid Big Ten quarterback, but he's not the generational first pick of the draft either.
No. And I'm very interested in seeing how Ryan Day has always leaned on the generational talent at that position. How does that affect him now that he doesn't have that generational talent at that position? Does he lean more on the running backs? Even though he's without his two big tackles that are getting ready to walk across the stage and shake Roger Goodell's hands and enter into the NFL. It's going to be very interesting to see how he approaches this season, especially offensively.
Yeah, it's going to be important, obviously, for Ryan Day to know how to coach. I mean, it's easy to coach and tell a guy who's already very equipped and talented and kind of ready made for you. But now you're going to actually have to coach a guy from average to above average, or at least to the play or production of the quarterbacks that you've had before. And that's going to involve intently focusing on what he does well. You can't just throw plays out there and expect him to make uh, beans in the red beans and rice. He's got to be able to uh, curate the offense to exactly what Kyle's great at. And, you can have some variations off of that, but more than likely, you're in a position where, those 39s,
Mm,
he's got to create, extra time and maybe run around or have to make a really good throw that we can't defend. I don't think he's going to have that as a plethora um, like he had before. In terms of just quarterback and playmaking at that position, I think he's more of in line with a Sam Hartman or a Drew Pine, where you're just keeping the team together, using the talent around you. But the difference between teams like what Kyle McCord has and a CJ Stroud led offense or a Braxton Miller led offense or a Justin Field led offense is that, you could take Kyle McCord off the field. Ohio State will still probably have the same record. Take CJ Stroud off Ohio State, they may lose 3 or 4 games. So I think that's the difference between Ohio State now and then is that obviously they're talented and you'll see more of the talent that they recruit. But from an X factor, they don't have that at the quarterback position. I think we have a better chance of uh, playing at a higher level and giving more production in our quarterback room than Ohio State has at a Common Core. So that's why I think if it's any year to get Ohio State, this is the year to do it. We currently have a better quarterback room than they have, at least a healthier one. And this is the opportunity for Ryan Day to get over that urban hump. Because I think for him to have his own legacy be established, I think this is the year for him to really make that case for being a coach not born on third base, but unfortunately, he's got to play Notre Dame in the 4 weeks of the first half of the season, and it's not going to look good for him.
Well, Left, you're going to have the opportunity to get over the hump yourself as you break your bones getting in the bag over there on the greens, out there on the left coast as you prepare to go to Ireland with other Notre Dame legends. Notre Dame versus Navy 2023, August 21st through August 28th. Man, 3 rounds of seaside golf with iconic Irish players and iconic golf courses in Ireland. It's a trip of a lifetime, man. You guys should check it out. For more information, go to Exec Tours. That's executiveglobaltours.com/Notre Dame at exec_tours on social media. And then call them 914-979-2247. They have non-golfing packages. And I'm going to go ahead and say that Left is going to probably lose on average about 6 to 7 balls per course. I'm telling you, that's my prediction. Left is going to lose about 6 to 7 balls per course, and I don't know if he breaks 120. I'm sorry. I have to tell the truth.
Yeah, no, probably worse than that.
And to come and talk about that along with other things, we bring on, one of Left's favorite, man. Anytime I talk to Left about teammates, he always brings up this guy. And he always tells me, like, yo, if it wasn't for injuries, this dude would have been one of them ones at Notre Dame. You could call, he has a great podcast, the Varsity House podcast, former Notre Dame defensive back Shaun Crwaford. Welcome into the Lucky Lefty podcast.
Hey, how's it going? I appreciate you guys having me on. I talked to Malik about this, several times, so I'm definitely excited to be on, and I appreciate, you reaching out as well, Shaun, to have me on and to talk, obviously, Ireland game, the executive golf global tours, but then also, talk some football and chop it up with my guy Malik.
So, Shaun, when you we talked to a couple of guys already, and they said there's some older players, and they said it's more competitive on the golf course than it was when they were actually on the practice field at Notre Dame. So, What are you looking forward to with this event with such great legends as yourself over in Ireland? What's the one thing you're looking forward to?
Honestly, it's just networking, and being able to be around those guys, for 7 days, 6 nights. Yeah. You talk about Belfast, Dublin, and then obviously finish the game, off, in Ireland. But just to have that opportunity to be around those guys, all day and to chop it up to whether it be about golf, whether it be about Notre Dame football, business, anything like that. That's the opportunity that, an opportunity of a lifetime that I'm looking forward to, because obviously at Notre Dame, it was probably majority football school, and then the relationships that you have with your teammates. And so I feel like this is a time to, extend the network of Notre Dame that, that I am not familiar with, to where obviously there's guys, like Brady Quinn or guys who maybe are a little bit older than me or fresh out, are fresh out now that I keep in touch with, but guys who were, who played in the 90s, who played in the 80s, I don't have, great relationships with them. And so I think this would be a great opportunity to, sit down, chop it up with them, and then also see if I could, drive a little bit further than them a little bit.
So how is your game right now? What's in your bag? That's something we ask all our guests. What's your driver looking like? What type of driver are you using right now?
I got a Callaway. I'm not gonna lie to you. I've had a set for probably about 2 years. I don't get out often now. Like it's a good thing that my brother, he golfs a ton. Like anytime the weather, is good, and good to him is like 40 degrees. So anytime he can get out there and the course is open, he goes. So especially like leading up to it these next couple months, I'm gonna be out there with him. He's gonna be teaching me a couple things. Because I told myself I can't go out there and embarrass myself. I gotta at least.
Yeah,
I gotta at least, if they're being competitive, talking a little trash, then I gotta be able to to go out there and maybe come up with a great hit or a great hole. So I'm excited about it. I've been practicing. I gotta work on my short game for sure. Putting's very frustrating right now, and I'm assuming that the greens out there are gonna be top notch greens that I haven't played on before. So definitely gotta. It's gonna be. I'm gonna definitely have to adjust, but I'm gonna definitely have to continue to prep before I get out there.
Now, see, I want to tap into your mind, man, because I was a baseball player, and when I started playing, it's funny because you Michigan guys, it's so amazing how Michigan guys get into golf left. Like my cousin who played college golf for Tennessee State, I followed him around as a kid when he was playing in Michigan. He used to play tournaments at Jackson, Lansing, everything. So I would kind of caddy for him around the summertime. And then I finally caught the bug when I got to about 19, 20 and started playing myself. And as an athlete, you feel like you can hit this little ball as like 400 yards with ease, right? Like, man, I can hit this as far as I want to, right? But there's so much technique and there's so much allowing the clubs to do what they're created to do and designed to do, that if you do that, the game becomes so much easier. But he just talked about something. That darn putting green, man, because you can get up to the green in 2 or 3 strokes, and then you just go back and forth across this hole like 5 times, and you just blew your entire hole up. That's how frustrating. What's the most frustrating thing for you as a competitor that kind of humbles you when it comes to golf? Is it strictly the putting?
Honestly, it's walking out there and athleticism not being that important. Because like growing up, I ran track, played football, played basketball, and it was like I was pretty much always one of the most athletic guys out there, so I stood a chance. To where now it's the opposite. It's all skill. So if I could be playing with a guy who's maybe in his 60s or in his 70s, and he's out there just whooping me, drive, short game, putt, everything, and I'm like, man, like, so I think that's the most frustrating part, because the only way to get better at it is consistency. You got to practice it, and you talk about that's humbling for just me, probably any athlete who's starting to play golf, because you got to keep going. You got to work through the bad hits. You got to work through some what do they call some missed hits. You got to work through all that stuff. And so it could be frustrating, because for athletes like maybe like me and Malik, to where you pick up another sport and it comes easy to you. This sport is like, yeah, you may be a natural driver and things like that, but that's only like a 1/4 of the game. So it's definitely humbling. It's a humbling experience, whenever I go out on the course. But I try to keep that in mind, that like the more I come out here, the better I'm gonna get. I just got to keep at it, and not get frustrated when I am playing terrible.
Lefty podcast, our special guest Shaun Crwaford. Don't forget, golfing with the legends, Notre Dame and Navy 2023, August 21st through the 28th, 2023. 3 rounds of golf with legends at iconic Irish golf courses. Go to executiveglobaltours.com/Notre Dame, or give them a call at 914-979-2247. Social media at exec_tours. Non-golfing packages are there, as well as golfing packages. Give them a call. Check them out for all of the information that you might be needing to make a decision to go check it out. Hey, it's a chance of a lifetime to play golf with Notre Dame legends. Go ahead, Left. You about to?
Yeah, that's pretty exciting though, to be able to go out the country to do this. Now, you weren't in the game last time they was out in Ireland. Were you coming in? I can't remember. No,
I wasn't. I wasn't there. I wasn't there.
Have you got a chance to be outside the country? Is your passport filled up yet, or what? I know you travel a lot around in country doing a lot of the podcasts, but out of country something different.
Yeah, so I've definitely been out of the country. Not for a trip like this, and not for maybe just the extent like this. And also just the opportunities. It was just like spring break stuff, or just like just leisure stuff, anything like that. But I mean, I kind of make seem like this is both. It's an opportunity to network for business, but it's also an opportunity to see new sights. To be around Irish fans, to be around Irish legends that went through the same thing that we went through. And so I think this is a great opportunity. We were actually supposed to go to Ireland in 2020 to play Navy, but that was the COVID year. And so we ended up, obviously canceling all that. So I am glad that it came around again, and I'm actually going to get to go this time. But yeah, I missed it last time just because of COVID.
And you know what's so interesting is that, you get done playing the sport where you put so much into it on a football level, but networking becomes the next sport for you. How have you found creative ways to get into that network? Because it's we say it's the 4 for 40, but it's not as easy as just picking up the phone. You got to kind of get some motion before you get into that sport of networking. I mean, this is even an opportunity. Join Ireland and network. I mean, you got to do different things.
Yeah, no, and that's as we talked about before when we were talking about golf, humbling yourself. And I think that's a huge thing, when it comes to networking, especially for me, because I felt like obviously as a player, everyone wants to connect with you. Everyone's reaching out to you, whether it's emails, DMs, text messages, phone calls, any type of way they're reaching out to you. And now that you're not a player, it's like, well, you don't have, the football going for you. So it's like, now how can you, become of value to someone to network? You don't want to just be like, hey, I'm a Notre Dame grad, play football, but it's like, now what can you offer? What's your skill set? And so, obviously the amount of time that we spend, working on our craft, perfecting our craft at football, internships were the time for them was very little. And so creating motion, like you mentioned, is definitely, I think, the first thing that you got to do. Find out what you want to get into, what field you want to get into, and kind of show that drive, show that passion that you've had, in football and athletics, all the way up, and create some steam. But then also, don't be afraid to ask. If there is someone in that field that is a Notre Dame grad, or that you are connected to through Notre Dame, don't be afraid to ask. And that was something that I had to learn. That was something I had to get over, is sending that text message, shooting that DM. I remember I had to shoot a DM to Brady Quinn. That was the first time we kind of really talked to each other. It was like, hey, this is what I'm doing. I do a podcast. I would love to have you on. And I was like, I played at Notre Dame. I don't know if you remember me, anything like that. And the conversation was very easy, after that point. But the hardest part, I think, right there was just getting over that hump and asking and doing things like that. Because once you do, you realize that everyone wants to help you. And especially if they see that you're committed, they see that you got something good going for you. I think, they're going to do anything that they can to help you. And so, and that's pretty much how this, opportunity came about. I saw you were posting about it, and I was like, what's going on over there? What's that? So I shot you a text. Yeah, see, you got me. So, just the promotion that you was doing, I was like, dang, how could I be a part of this? And so, but I mean, that's just Notre Dame too. Like, how many schools get this opportunity to go out there and be a part of this, and executive global tours, want to attach, to Notre Dame. And I think that's key too. So the sport of networking is a long one. There's obviously no guarantees on a deal or anything that comes from it. But I think, what I've learned, since being done with football, is that relationships mean a ton. And so it's definitely a way just to build those relationships and to make new ones.
You talk about the relationship that you have that was evident, when you launched the Varsity House. And I think that's what I want to start with, the Varsity House podcast. And how did it come about? Like, within the creative of Shaun Crwaford, at what point did you feel like this is what I want to do? This is what I want to pursue? And then the relationship that you had, of course, with Brian Kelly recruiting you and bringing you to Notre Dame, while also still being active around the campus and around the program, knowing Marcus Freeman and speaking to him and talking about that networking. How do you feel like that brotherhood is going to continue to grow, with a lot of players feeling like now they're coming back and getting closer to the program? through Marcus Freeman and his efforts. Just talk about that, how you started the podcast and just going from the relationship with Brian Kelly into the relationship you have with the program now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I talked about the COVID year a little bit, and during that year we had a lot of free time, as students, as student athletes, because we were home for that second semester. We were home a little bit for the summer as well, and there wasn't a lot of sports going on, like live sports going on, and so during that time it was big. I was really big on podcasts, whether it be I Am Athlete, $1 million worth of game, Nelk, or any Colin Coward's, all those type of podcasts I was pretty big on. And so even when I got to school, when we finally got back to school that year, I bought a camera, I did all that, and I was like, I'm gonna hold off on it just because I wanted to lock in on football. It's just I didn't understand the technical, all of the video edit and everything that it took, and so I put it off, and obviously wanted to lock in on football, chase the dream of the NFL. Was fortunate enough to have an opportunity with the Raiders, was there with them all the way through the summer, into preseason, and then I was released. And so during that time, I would go back to Notre Dame and I would train. And this is kind of how the relationship with Coach Freeman started. Is for being from Cleveland, obviously, during those October, November, December months, it's hard to find an indoor field or to find good weather to train and things like that. So Coach Bayless, Coach Kelly, Coach Freeman, they all, opened up their, facilities to me and let me come there to train and do things like that. And so that was kind of how the relationship with Coach Freeman started. But obviously after the season, I didn't get picked up by anybody. I didn't have any phone calls and things like that. And so I started to think, now, USFL is coming, XFL is coming. I could continue to chase this dream. But, if you know my history with football at Notre Dame, I had 2 ACL injuries. I had an Achilles injury. I had a dislocated elbow. Like, for me to play football, it would have had to be the NFL. It would have had to be like the highest level. For me to continue to put my body through that and to continue that route. And so that didn't look too promising. So I was like, what's something that I could do, on my own to kind of build my brand, tell stories, connect with different people. And that was the podcast. And so I completely just went for it. I didn't understand like the whole editing. I didn't understand the post-production part of things at all. But I just went after it, and I made 3 phone calls to first start off the podcast. And it was one to Coach Freeman, one to Coach Kelly, and then one to Coach Lee. And so Coach Clark Lee at Vanderbilt. So, and I figured, I was like, if I'm going to do a podcast, I don't want to start it off with like 5 views. And so that would just like be, it would just hurt my confidence a little bit. I feel like anything I always had to do, I feel like I had to do it at the highest level. I had to go all out. And so when those 3 coaches said, yeah, it was no turning back at that point. It was kind of just, go for it, see how these episodes do. See if they, make an impact, see if they touch anybody. And then from there, I'll continue to go if I like it. And so we did those episodes, and the Notre Dame fan base, received those very well. The Notre Dame reporters, they kind of wrote some articles on it and went well. And then same with, Vanderbilt, and then also Coach Kelly. So we got a ton of traction. We got great views on YouTube. And honestly, I was like surprised, and I was like, wow, like, people enjoy this stuff. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed connecting with these coaches on a different level now, to where before it was just like, it was coach to player. It was the conversations that we had weren't as deep, maybe weren't as personal. Well, now it's like I kind of get the stories of these coaches, of these people, to where, to make them like, why are they, who they are, what makes them tick, like how did they get to where they are going. And so, one thing about Coach Freeman is, he said he wanted to be a firefighter, and that's something that I had no idea he wanted to do. But it was centered around the whole team aspect, the leadership aspect, accomplishing a goal together. And so obviously that leads to coaching as well. So just finding out little things like that, kept my interest in it. And then I thank those coaches, to this day, for just, getting me started and allowing me to get some, confidence in myself, get some credibility going forward. And then the relationship with Coach Freeman, it was like I played for Coach Mickens while I was there. So knew Coach Mickens, knew Coach Freeman a little bit just from going back to train. And then always just stopping in. They let me come to meetings, talk to the guys, be around practice, things like that. And so that relationship was, pretty easy to form. And I think now, I mean, you see it even last year's spring game. They brought a bunch of people back. Guys were happy. Guys were excited to be there. And so I'm excited where the program's going. All the players, the current players there love Coach Freeman now. I hear only great things about him. And so I think, as the more we can get, some Notre Dame legends back, I think that'll help with recruiting. That'll help with our current players there. And then also it'll help with, their freshly former players like myself, getting out, finding a new lane to connect with those guys will help as well.
Like the tentacles of the podcast, though, because I remember when you launched it, and I'm like, man, okay, I'm interested in seeing where Shaun takes this. And I saw the first 3 interviews. Then I saw you go to the Cleveland guys, and I'm like, okay, so this is not going to be centered around just Notre Dame. I'm like, yo, he's really expanding himself. And I'm still interested in, at the core, what it is that you want long term and where you see yourself, let's say, 2-3 years from now in this broadcasting game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think at the core, for me, it started off as wanting to tell stories, wanted to dive into the mindset, the mentality, and just, the upbringing and the growth of people. And that was just, from my personal experience. I went on a friend's podcast called Stronger Scars. Bailey Cartwright, she was a soccer player at Notre Dame, and she gave me the opportunity to, for the first time, to tell my story, all the adversity that I've been through at Notre Dame. She allowed me to go on her podcast and do that. And so that was the first time I talked about it, and I loved it. And so with that in mind, I was like, okay, now I want to take that approach and go, take that same approach with my podcast. And so that's the center of it. That's the background of it. And I kind of didn't want to, be tied down to Notre Dame. I think the growth there could have been great. But I just feel like I would just be limiting myself with the network that I have, and being able just to go to the Cleveland Browns guys, to have some Ravens guys on, to even having the mayor of Cleveland on, to, Manti, to whoever, like Darius Garland for the Cavs, like having all those guys on, it's allowed me just to touch different networks, to touch different spaces, but also learn different routes to where they are, to where it's like, for example, the mayor of Cleveland, Justin Bibb, grew up a sports fan, grew up playing sports, grew up playing basketball, dream was to go to the NBA. And now, just because he's not a professional athlete, I think his story is more, interesting for athletes who listen to the podcast, or fan of sports who listen to the podcast, because you see a guy whose dream was to go to the NFL, who watched, NBA, who watched NFL, all this stuff growing up, to where it's like he made a career path. And that's something that I'm doing, or it's a career change. And that's something that I'm doing now. So hearing that, and just how he gained confidence, and knowing where, what he was supposed to do, and what he was doing was right. I think, it reaches further than just a sports fan, but just, just a fan of just who Justin Bibb, but also a fan of, stories and growth and development. So 2 years from now, I mean, it's the same thing. I think I just continue to just level up to, maybe from the guests, I level up as a host, our studios, our production, all that stuff, just start to level up and see how far we could get, see how many, see who we can get, see what type of stories we can tell, and kind of just, go from there. But I want to stick around, mainly sports, but if we can dip and dab, I try to, if we get someone outside of sports, like, politics or influence or anything like that, try to always relate it back to sports.
Well, you got the mayor, so I mean that definitely helps. But I do think, though, your take on journalism, has that passion or interviewing journalism sort of thing grown to the level of what you love football like? Has it been have you found that same love? Because, they talk about a lot, you're not going to find something as entertaining or as fulfilling as the process of what football gives you, but has journalism in this way been that for you?
It's been challenging just because with journalism, I feel like you have to be a little bit, and so from an athlete standpoint, it's like you know the work you put in, like you don't really critique, things like that. I feel like with journalism is I try not to critique just because it's like even if I like see a player like NBA playoffs, for example, like the Cavs are on right now, and I think they played terrible. Like I would love to go out there and just like man, like just like talk trash, but like I feel like the athlete in me is like, nah, like I mean it happens. Just wait it out. But then also it's like I would love to have these guys on the podcast. So it's like I can't, overstep any boundaries or things like that. So it's been challenging for me, honestly, and I think I'm starting to get into it more, just even like on social media, like starting to tweet more, just like my opinions on a game or on a play or anything like that. To whereas before it was just like I didn't say anything on Twitter. It was like I just reacted to things I just liked and retweeted. But I do think I'm starting to pick up that same passion because even when like I'm a perfectionist. I feel like in everything I do, but how I would stay up to watch film or how I would get up at 6 a.m. for a lift, I feel like I still have that same type of drive when it comes to, editing a video or making sure it gets out on time or locking in a guest, like getting excited, once the episode is over, I think it's going to be good. And so I think there's been little flashes of that. And now it's just, just being consistent with it. And honestly, the feedback from the fans, from the people who support, help as well, for sure.
Is now that you're doing it, is there any question you wouldn't ask? Sometimes athlete to athlete, you don't want to ask the tough questions. Are you asking tough questions like you should have to Coach Kelly?
I'm gonna be honest, man. Every interview that I've had, I've always asked, is there any question or is there anything you don't want to talk about? Because I don't want to be the Brandon
Journalist
Marshall.
of the year?
I don't want to be the Brandon Marshall, who maybe have some messy stuff, some messy topics come out, and and obviously it makes for great content for sure. It's clickbait stuff for sure. But somebody that I look up to in the industry for sure is Ryan Clark. And that's someone that we've been able to have on the podcast and someone that I've just been able just to learn from and throw ideas at and things like that. And I love his approach to where it's all about, diving into the person and getting them their authentic selves because a bunch of, or we could, if we need to touch on a topic that's, maybe a rumor or anything like that, wording it to where they feel comfortable, talking about it and making the environment comfortable. But that's just one of the things that like I pride myself on. I don't want to. It depends on the person too. Like if it was like Wu or Coach Kelly, I feel like I'm comfortable now to ask the tough questions, and I feel like they know me enough to, answer those and know that it's not any hard feelings. But sometimes when I do a podcast, it's the first time me meeting a guy, and I don't want to ruin that relationship right off rip just by asking them like, so why'd you, it's like just something crazy,
Before we switch gears to Notre Dame football, give me your top 3 podcasts right now.
The Lucky Left podcast. We'll throw the Lucky Left podcast.
That's what's up.
No order. We're gonna throw the Lucky Left podcast on there. I won't count mine, but I love the pivot, and I don't know if you consider this a podcast, but it is what it is with Cameron and Mace. Like I don't know if you consider that a podcast right now or a show or whatever it is, but
it's something.
It's climbing. It's definitely climbing on my favorite. Like
because what is it? That's what it is.
I mean, they talk legit sports topics, but they unfilter.
It's a rapper's view of a sports topic.
It's like barbershop, like rated R, like top, like type topics or top conversations, and so that's those. I would say those 3 for sure.
So let's say he had the opportunity. Wait a minute, I have to get this from him. Let's say you had the opportunity to go studio with Varsity House and to put together a cast.
Right.
Give me the 3 Notre Dame players
Yeah, who's your shot?
That would join you. Yeah. Give me the 3 Notre Dame players that would join you that would make the best podcast.
Ooh. I feel Malik would be on there. Malik would definitely be on there. Because Malik, I think we could have like the funny conversations, but Malik also brings that QB perspective that's respected. He understands the game from, obviously from a QB's point of view. At a high level, he's played Division I quarterback. So I feel like that having that insight would be great. I need a wild card. I might go Tavon, just because. Just because now, like Tavon would be like
Tavon on there.
No. Tavon would be on there because he's the wild card. He's going to relate to the average sports fan, like uncle, cousin. Like he's gonna relate to the average person, and he gonna make everybody on set laugh. Now we're gonna have to like reel him back in for sure, but I feel like he would be on there. And then I'm trying to think who would be the last one.
Man, Notre Dame has many great personalities.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. This is just like from the time that I was there, but I don't even the last one is a tough one. I don't even know.
It's a tough one. It's a
tough one. I don't even maybe
make that a rotational player.
It'll be rotation. I will rotate it. I will definitely rotate it with like Cole Luke would be in a rotation. Kavari would be in a rotation. I'm trying to think. Dex would be in a rotation. Like
we had some guys for sure.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Like even like Chris Fink, I think will be in there. I think Chris Fink will be funny.
Great.
Yeah. So that's hard, but I would definitely, first two, Malik and Tavon would definitely be in there, and then we'll rotate that that fourth seat for sure.
So the number 20, we know it was special when you were wearing it, but there's another guy at Notre Dame wearing it now that most seem to feel like moving forward he's going to end up being one of the best ones to ever come through the university at that position. What do you think makes Benjamin Morrison special at this point?
Mm-hmm. I think just the confidence he plays with, and to play the amount of man that they played last year, and to have the interceptions that he had in man, that's a ton of confidence. Because usually, in man coverage, you like to just play the receiver's hands, you like to just play the ball, things like that, just get the BD, win it down, things like that. But Ben, last year he was turning around, going up, high pointing the ball, and coming down with it, and so. I think, obviously, and that talks to his skill set too. A lot of fans say, turn around, the ball's there. It's not that easy for a DB. It's not that easy for a DB when you running face to face with a guy and you got to turn around, find the ball in the air, and hope that it's not right over your shoulder and the receiver's catching it. So for Ben to be able to do that and at the level that he did it at, and obviously, in some of the obviously the Clemson game, things like that. I think his confidence is what keeps him on the field, but his skill set is what's going to just take him to the next level. And being a freshman, I think Coach Bayless is obviously going to build his body out, get him stronger, get him faster, things like that. So. As long as he stays humble, which I think he will. He comes from a great family, Christian man, great kid. I think the sky's the limit for him. Obviously, as long as he stays healthy, I'm definitely excited to see it. And for me, I'm like, yeah, I passed 20 down to him, so I'm like, I'm talking about like, yeah, so. The next person who wear 20, you can't just be passing out 20 now.
Yeah, it's got to be LSU,
Yeah. So I mean, but I feel like I had a good career, but obviously he's doing his thing. He still has more years to go, but it'll be exciting with what he can do. And I just hope obviously he finished his career in number 20, because at the end of the day, it's a reason for me to continue to post it's a reason for me to continue to, talk
Go up
stuff
there
like,
and
yeah,
wear yellow jersey.
number 20, yeah, like I can talk trash about, number 20 from Notre Dame, like it's
That's
a
right.
20 thing, like things like that. So it's fun. It's fun to see him out there doing his thing.
So low in our conversation, Shaun. By the way, it's cool to have another Shaun on the podcast that his mom actually spelled it with a U, just like my mom.
Yeah,
the correct way. The
correct way. Exactly.
The only way to spell it. The only way to spell it.
Absolutely. So Left has been saying, we got it, man. It has to be this year. Like, we don't get Ohio State this year. Like, come on, man. Like, it has to be this year. You guys, you two are you're the Ohio boys. Like, do you feel the same way? Like, they walk into Notre Dame Stadium. It's not the first game of the season. You should have enough reps under your belt after the first 3 games. The quarterback situation is in our favor. Is this almost a must program win, in your opinion, with Ohio State coming into Notre Dame Stadium?
I would say so, of course. Just because it does a lot for Coach Freeman. It does a lot for recruiting as well. And I wouldn't say it's a must win though, just because I think we could, if we end up losing it, we still our chances for the playoffs and things like that are still there. But I would say like a win would take us to the next level as a program. Sort of like when we beat Clemson, when we beat Clemson 2020 at home, it was one of those things that it was like a weight off of our shoulders. Like it just seemed like, okay, like Notre Dame won the big game. And it's not something that like we focus on inside the building, but just like, it's just peace of mind, honestly, for the fan base, for alum. And then it builds confidence throughout the group. But I think, if you want to say it's a must win, and I would call it a must, if I had to call it a must win, I would say just because it'll set the foundation for us going forward. When we have a Stanford, when we have USC, when we have Clemson, we could always refer back to that Ohio State game. Like, we got it done versus Ohio State. This was a great team. We beat them. Now let's just continue to build on this. Like, we're used to this type of game. And so I think looking at it at that point to where it's like, yo, we just beat a great team in Ohio State. Now I think USC is that next week, or I think it's the bye week, and then they play them. But coming off a win into USC is completely different confidence than, coming off of a loss into USC. And so I would say it's a must win for that reason, because I do think if we could get that win against Ohio State, I think we go into USC like, okay, we just beat Ohio State. We're not worried about USC. It's another opponent. And then we got Clemson later. Like, we beat Clemson last year. We know we could beat them. So things like that, I would say it's a must win. But obviously for playoffs and season, the end of the season, I don't think it's a must win in that situation. But it will look good, personally, just so I could talk trash. I mean, I went to the game last year. It was a fun game. I feel like we had them. Obviously in that first half, maybe a bad defensive call where they got that. I think it was like a skinny post over the middle for a touchdown. I think that really turned the game. But now we got a year under Coach Golden. We got Morrison. Obviously, he has some reps now. DJ Brown came back, a veteran. So I'm excited to see, and then also Sam Hartman. I'm excited to see what he does. I know Malik. We had a long conversation leading up to the Ohio State game over the phone. It was like maybe a 2-hour conversation, and I was right, but
No.
I do think our quarterback situation will be better. I do think our quarterback situation will be better this year.
Wait a minute. You said Shaun thought they were gonna get blown out?
Shaun thought he was gonna get blown out because he said that they had a way better quarterback than us. I'm like, listen, we're not gonna let him just throw for 5 million yards either. Like, so he had a huge debate about that because I was like, give me the points or something. He's like, no, I don't want to give you the points. You want it straight up. I'm like, straight up. Why you want to? So we had a whole thing about it. So,
but see, we always our bet was that we didn't believe Ryan Day was disciplined enough, right? We knew Notre Dame would come out to stop the pass, and we said, man, we don't think they would ever commit to the run.
Yeah,
and they didn't until the end of the game. And once they committed to the run, That's when they started moving the ball. So for me, it's all about what do you think about this? Before you came on, we said this is probably going to be a true telltale season for Ryan Day, because this will be the first time in a long time he doesn't have that generational quarterback that he's used to having. Like, he has some good quarterbacks, but he doesn't have the Justin Fields, CJ Stroud level of quarterback now. What are your thoughts about that?
I mean, I think this is a must. I think Ryan Day could be in his last year. If forget the Notre Dame game, I think it's the Michigan game. If he doesn't come out on top in that game, those fans they tired. I mean, just hearing about it, it's like, and he only lost 2, but I do think like he's going to have some late nights this year, prepping and getting the guys ready. Obviously they got talent on the outside at the receiver position. They got returning talent in the backfield. They're losing some great offensive linemen in the draft this year, but there's just Ohio State. They're going to reload. They're going to have talent. And having a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr. at receiver does help out of a new starting quarterback this year. But I think he's taking every game. Like, he's not taking every game lightly. Like you said, like, this is the first. He doesn't have Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Justin Fields, Jamison Williams. Like, the players that he's had have been crazy,
Right.
And then even this year, like, you got Marvin, you got the a bouquet, you got those type of guys that are obviously great talent, but you don't have that tool. You don't have that quarterback to where it's like you put it any just what was his name last year? Who's the quarterback? CJ Stroud. Yeah, like, he's putting it on the money, like on the run, in the pocket, like just the throws that he was making. I mean, you make up for a lot of mistakes and things like that. And so you see the game that CJ Stroud played against Georgia. Like, if any other quarterback is in that game, outside of probably Bryce Young, Caleb Williams, it's not that type of game. So I'll be definitely interested to see what he does. I do think this is this could be Ryan Day's last year if they don't get to the playoffs. I know they got to the playoffs last year, but fans weren't excited about the way it ended. So I think if he doesn't get to the playoffs, it could be the fan base could be putting some fire under his seat, which is crazy though, because it's like, I mean, he just went to the playoffs, but it's that Ohio State fan base, they don't play.
You open the door, so I'm gonna go ahead and walk through it. With you two Ohio boys.
Right.
What's up with the Cavs, dog?
Oh, the Cavs in 5.
Yep.
Oh,
what?
Cavs in 5. Cavs in 5. Like Jalen Brunson, great, unreal.
Problem.
Yeah. That Chicago boy came through there and let y'all know.
Here we go.
Game 1. Like, yeah, this is what's up.
It's gonna be tough because I was watching a matchup and it's like we had Cedi Osman on him. I don't know.
Cedi was good in the second. I thought he bothered him for a while with his limp. For a while.
Yeah. For a while. And the only reason why he probably didn't have more, or the only reason he didn't have more, is because he only played, I think, 4 minutes in the first quarter because he had 2 fouls. So I mean, we lucked out. So
yeah.
I'm gonna say I mean, I realistically I hope the Cavs win it in 6, but we got to get somebody for Brunson because obviously we need Donovan to get 35 every game.
Donovan got to play both ways. He's gonna have the hardest guy. He got to play both sides.
We got to get Donovan to play. We got to get Donovan to get 35. DG, he got to give us 20 at least, and then Mobley. I think Mobley is the X factor.
His guy got to give you 20. He only take 10 shots a game, maybe.
I think he had 20 last. Didn't he have 20 last game?
That's a high though. That's a high average for him though.
Yeah, we need the best. Like it ain't. They're not gonna win the series if they don't play their best. Like,
yeah, that's true. Jared Allen got to stop boxing out and go for the ball. He over there trying to.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, facts. We got to rebound. Our guards need to help rebounding for sure because I know people say we got 2 7-footers on the team and things like that, but if they get in the long rebounds like they did that last possession of the game, like our guards got to help box out and crash the boards as well.
Yeah, Darius had 17. He had 17. Jared Allen had 14. I think Darius Garland is the key. I'll be honest. I love that kid. I think he can take a lot of pressure because once it gets into the fourth quarter, 4-5 is going to do his thing. Like Donovan is going to do his thing. If Darius can kind of just control things for the first 2.5 quarters and then let Donovan just ease his way into the game and do what he does, he's one of the best in the fourth quarter. I mean, what he did to score that 71 against the Bulls early in the season, I didn't even want to show my face on the podcast the next morning.
Yeah, against
I was like,
the Bulls is another story.
Don't even talk about it. Don't even talk about it. And you got the general manager talking about they're gonna run it back. I'm like, all right. Yeah, we know what's coming.
Yeah.
So, man, once again, Golfing with Legends, Notre Dame versus Navy 2023, August 21st through the 28th. 3 rounds of golf on the seasides. Port Stewart Golf Club, Art Glass Golf Club, Island Golf Club with Notre Dame Legends at @exec_tours on social media. Give them a call, 914-979-2247. Or you can go for pricing and more info, executiveglobaltours.com/Notre Dame. My special guest today has been Shaun Crwaford. Before you go, let everybody know where they can follow you. I'm sure all the Notre Dame fans know, but fans I might be watching, I might not be connected to Notre Dame, let them know how they can follow you and stay in tune with Varsity House Podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for the podcast, on all social networks and even on YouTube is Varsity House Podcast. And then, personal account, Shaun Crwaford 20. Shaun spelled the right way, SHAUN. Crwaf, CRAWF 20. So definitely give me a follow. We're continue to just, obviously, as far as the podcast, continue to post some episodes. Our next episode is featuring Kyle Hamilton. So we got him on talking about, obviously, his rookie year with the Ravens, the transition from college to the NFL, talk about he's back in school as well right now, finishing his degree. So talking about that, but also talking about last season and his thoughts, watching it from afar instead of being on the field. So definitely check that episode out when it drops.
He's the second highest graded Pro Football Focus safety or defensive rookie or something like that.
Yeah, I believe so. And it's crazy because he started off, everyone was, trashing him.
Cooking
like So we talked about that too. And so it's a good conversation, and I love having those conversations. We gotta get y'all, on the Varsity House Podcast for sure. I've been trying to get Malik, but busiest man ever.
We can do it in Ireland. We got to do it the best. We're gonna do it in Ireland.
All right, bet. That's gonna be a fun trip because it's gonna be a ton of people out there. I just saw Golick was going. It's gonna be a ton of people out there that obviously we get content with. So I'm excited for that aspect of it too.
Are you in town this weekend for the Blue and Gold game?
I will be in town this weekend. I have no idea what day I'm pulling up, but I will be in town this weekend. Just show face, rub some elbows, and got to get a look on on the squad this year. I haven't seen I haven't been to any practices this year or talked to many guys this year, so I'm excited to see obviously Sam. I'm excited to see some young receivers step up. Obviously, new tight end. And there's new OC. There's new before I hop off, Malik, I want to get your thoughts on the new OC and what you think what you think is in store for Notre Dame offense this year.
Well, you're not going to see too much of a drastic difference. If anything, I would like to see the offense go 60% pass, 40% run, and use the run for more effective, big game type of, get the defense off kilter type of runs. Throw some Tyler Buckner in there for some packages, but I'm expecting to see more from the receivers. We're not going to be a heavy tight end, heavy just 12 set, gonna run the ball up the gut, which is going to be good for us because I do think we have a lot of talent at the receivers position that Sam Hartman can unlock. Not that Drew Pine couldn't, but I just don't think Drew Pine was the best fit for what we need to be doing if we want to win the championship. So I'm expecting us to be a top 5 scoring offense with Sam Hartman at the helm because we can pass now and we're not like we can't run either. So now we can run and pass. I think it'll help our defense that has been, in my opinion, the lead of the team for a long time, or the foundational support beam of the team. But now I think that offense will get on board and pull this part to where we'll be a threat if we make it to the playoffs. We won't just be a team that got it by enough points.
Man, I totally agree. That's your pup? That's your pup, Shaun?
Hey, first 3 and out, we want.
Yeah. What'd you say?
I said that's your pup.
Yeah. What'd you say? The first 3 and out? What?
First 3 and out, we want the OC fired.
No, I was going to ask you what breed do you have?
Oh, I have a Jack Russell. I put him away for a little bit, and now he's starting to get agitated. So
Man, stop breeding dogs. What's a Jack Russell? Didn't you have to cross that thing about 3-4 times?
No.
Jack
Russell.
Jack Russells are one of the best breeds, man.
Is that a purebred? That's not a purebred, is it?
Yeah.
Is it? Oh, I thought it was a mix. I thought it was like a wiener dog and something else.
Bro.
You said a wiener dog, bro?
I'm not getting a wiener dog.
A wiener dog with them Shih Tzus or something. Weird.
On that note, see, this is how disrespectful he gets, Shaun.
Either you get a pug or a pit bull. That's either one.
Pug got too many breathing problems.
Yeah, that's true.
It's about how you take care of it. If you have an out of shape pug, of course. Any out of shape
dog. No.
Any out of shape dog got breathing problems. Come on, man. Take out a dog school.
Shaun Crwaford, once again, thanks for joining us today, man. We look forward to having you back on the closer we get to the season, bro.
All right, appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Oh, who you got? You got Tank or Ryan Garcia this weekend?
Oh, Tank, easily.
Okay. Easily? Yeah. I like Ryan Garcia.
We gotta link up and watch it this weekend.
Yeah, for sure.
You'll be in town? All right,
yeah,
cool, yeah,
we'll all be in town. So we gotta link up and watch it. All right, Shaun.
All right. Have a good one. Appreciate you guys.
Yes, sir. Thanks. Once again, the great Shaun Crwaford joining us right here on the Lucky Lefty podcast. That was, you know what? That was a promotional interview to promote the golf, but it just turned into like, yo, it was great talking to him, man. We'll be right back on the other side. Marcus Freeman, the presser, everything he had to say. Can't wait to see what Left has to say about this. Lucky Lefty podcast. We spin it different. We're back in this piece. Onora boys are in the house. Lucky Lefty podcast. We just had a great interview with Notre Dame great Shaun Crwaford. Once again, Golf with the Legends. Go to executiveglobaltours.com/Notre Dame for all pricing, non-golf packages as well as golfing packages. 3 great courses, iconic Notre Dame players. You can't beat it. It's a trip of a lifetime. Go to exclusiveglobaltours.com/Notre Dame. Left, Marcus Freeman talked to the media. We'll deal with the coordinators tomorrow, Left, because I already know. We discussed some of the things that they talked about. But Marcus Freeman talked about just, these are my thoughts about what I saw today.
Great scrimmage. The offense ended up winning to keep the blue jerseys. It was actually a 2-point game. I mean, it's a unique scoring system, but a 2-point game going into the last series. And I was going to go 2s and 1s to finish, but I think we're at 80-something plays, and I kind of wanted to finish with the 1s. So we cut that last set of 2s, and really it came down to execution. That there was a big play. I think second down, offense hit probably a 20-yard gain to Tyree to really seal the deal. And I don't know what the final score was. I think Hartman ran in a touchdown at the very end. But it really was a good game. Kind of notes from the game is the offense came out early and really did a good job. They were really good doing a good job of executing, getting first downs, and they were up by a significant amount of points. And then you almost saw this lull a little bit. I don't know if it was the heat. I don't know if they felt complacent. Then all of a sudden the defense came back and surged back with some negative yardage plays. And again, it was 2-point scrimmage with the last series as they took the field. We got to continue to improve on penalties. We have too many penalties. And it's a difference between undisciplined penalties versus aggressive penalties. We'll take aggressive penalties all day long. We can't be perfect. But if you're undisciplined and you're getting penalties, I don't know who, I think we had one personal foul, a couple holdings, a defense aligned offsides. Those are penalties that we have to be more disciplined and can't happen. But it was really encouraging to see, 80, 88 plays, 90 plays, battling, guys stepping up, making big plays today. And you try to create this environment where it's almost like game. Like, well, listen, we can't get 80,000 fans in here, but you try to build this thing up that, hey, man, this is for the jerseys. Like, you're going to go into Notre Dame Stadium. It's a sacred place, and we got to understand that. And then really be able to see who can execute, right? Who can just do their job every play when you try to build this up, because it's natural as we get here in the season. When this place is filled, there's going to be pressure. They're going to feel it. And how do we get them to focus on doing their job? And so it was good. It was a good scrimmage. And so now we have 4 practices left to, including the spring game as we close out this spring. I want to just, before I open up for questions, just address, the Caleb Smith situation. And he's retiring from football. We wish him all the best. It was what's best for him, and ultimately, that's, as a head coach, all you care about is he made the decision that this was probably what's best for him, is retire from football. And I think he put out a statement and went into details on his reasons why. But we wish him all the best, and we're grateful for the time we had with him, and wish him the best moving forward.
So that's him talking about the dress rehearsal inside Notre Dame Stadium this past Saturday, and Caleb Smith stepping away from the game of football, medically retiring. Your takeaways from what he had to say, Left?
In terms of Caleb Smith to go backwards, you never like to see a guy leave the team on a not on their own terms. I'm sure but at the same time, I'm sure Marcus Freeman had Caleb Smith as an insurance plan in case the receivers weren't able to step up, like a Rico Flores or a Braylon or a Jordan Greathouse, or even a Deion Cosley in the midst of coming back from injuries, and just, the uncertainty of the receiver room. I can see why Caleb Smith would have been a great insurance plan through being a veteran and having some game experience and this, that, and the other. From regards to his comments on the team and the scrimmage, I think it's right on brand to where it should be. I think Marcus Freeman has a lot of things to be excited about. At the same time, he wants to be able to have that same excitement when the bullets start flying for real. And it's good that he's able to trust the depth of his team and not just go back to the ones and twos when the spots get tight. So it shows he's comfortable with who he's bringing in, which, it's a hit or miss, to be all in on all the guys you recruit instead of just the guys that are playing the best. Shows that you have great team chemistry, and the depth chart that you're able to find those combinations of starters and non-starters, or 1As, 1Bs, and find a good mix for them to be able to be productive. And, Marcus Freeman is a mastermind in what he's trying to create as a program, and it's hard to do with the stipulations and the type of things that is attached to Notre Dame. But I'm excited to see what happens this week from the spring game, being there live, especially having all the anticipation of these 6-second clips that are too close so you can't tell what play is going on. I think it'd be good to see a full game in the flesh.
He also talked about what he's been impressed about the most from the start of practice up until now.
Because I was concerned we didn't really use play clocks many practices before today, right? And there was times in practice before today that you're like, okay, hey, you got to be aware of the play clock. I know we're not using the play clock right now, and there was no play clock issues. It was good. The quarterbacks had great awareness. So the communication from Coach Parker down to the signalers was really clean, just from my perspective. Obviously, we got to go back and watch film, but it was really good to see, the communication really from the press box down to the signaler to the quarterback. Sometimes we huddled, sometimes we didn't. We did a lot of different things. And so it was really, really good to see.
Communication. I think having Gerard Parker back, especially being in the building and having that communication is key, because we don't need the silly shoot ourselves in the foot penalties of silly stuff like delay of games at a timeout. Like I saw in the XFL, the XFL yesterday, sloppy. How you get a 12 man on a fourth down coming out of a timeout? You come out of commercial, you get a 12 man on the field on a special teams play.
Oh man,
I know I can see why. I can see why the XFL is looked at as the G League of the NFL, and even the coaches, because it was some questionable play calls. It's some questionable operational things, and maybe it's just because the league is young.
Right.
I think that, side note though, April is the best sports month around. You got both football leagues, got the NBA playoffs, baseball's going on.
I mean, it's the best month, period. I mean,
yeah, it's
you
all
can
right.
take it. You can take it from a sports standpoint if you would like. I'm just
That's
saying.
okay. My son's birthday is in April.
Oh,
April
I
9th.
know this. I know this.
That's all right. So I'm a fan. I'm a fan.
He's a king in the making.
That's right. So April is definitely turned up. It's definitely turned up in terms of attraction on a lot of levels. And Marcus Freeman, man, I think he wants to end out on a good week. Put to rest a lot of things that he was, trying to get together throughout the spring, and also just coming off of last year. I mean, had some shoes to fill. I know there's some questions about Michael Mayer's shoes filling and Isaiah Fowski's shoes filling, the defense staying intact. So I think a great spring game will result in Marcus Freeman feeling good about the fall and about his team going into 2023-24.
He should feel good. They have great expectations. But he said one of the keys offensively is the tempo. Let's see what OC Left has to say about this.
Encouragement is to vary the tempo, right? I don't want to be just a 100% tempo team. I don't want to be a 100% huddle team. There's different ways to vary the tempo that I think can keep the offense off balance, the defense off balance. And they've done a good job at running some tempo plays. Have done some, as you saw us do last year, is hurry to the line of scrimmage and scan over to the sideline. We huddle if we need to. So the ability to have multiple tempos is what I want.
Multiple tempos.
Whatever it takes to score. That means we catch them and we hurry up and run the same play. Okay, I can take that.
Man, I want Notre Dame to play like the Sacramento Kings, bro.
Oh yeah, like the beat.
Like Mike Brown was like, go faster.
Just go fast.
Go faster. And I'm like, wait a minute. You're playing Golden State. You want to go faster? He's like, go faster.
Golden State. Them young boys are gassing Golden State. Just take it one-on-one, coast to coast. We'll play defense later. Just take it.
I'm like, dude, we got depth at running back and wide receiver. Just go.
Yeah.
Just go. Matter of fact, if you need to pull Sam Hartman out for a couple of plays, pull him out.
You want to pull Sam out for a couple of plays because he's gassed. Pull him out.
Pull him out.
There is no player
on
the offense that's unpullable. There's no player. There's no player where we got to we got to keep him on the field because, we got to let him catch his breath, take a couple plays off, run the ball or something. No. There would never have to be a beat missed in the offense because everybody's good enough to where we don't have to. You can be, Tobias down, throw another guy in there. Oh, running back Aldrich down, throw Logan in there. Oh, Chris Tyree. Oh, we need another running back, throw Chris Tyree. Oh, Jadarian, throw. So we're not empty-handed in any situation, which is why the expectations for Gerard Parker not only stay the same, but increase to the level of what we need to be on a championship level because we look at the roster and we're like, we got all the pieces. I don't see anywhere in the roster where I'm like, we could use a 6'6" tight end or something, or we can use a 235 running back. We got all that.
Yeah.
We can use a tall receiver, a short receiver. We got both. 6'5", and we got little dudes. Little fast dudes and tall fast dudes. We got everything that you're looking for. So you can't look at that paper and be like, this is a 9-4 team.
Yeah.
No, that's a failure of a season. You look at that and be like, oh, they in the playoffs deep. They might mess around being in the game. That's from looking at the paper. That's not even from watching the film yet. So, fortunately, Gerard Parker doesn't have too many excuses because look at who you got.
Yeah. Marcus Freeman, he talked about the defense. Feels pretty good about his defense right now.
We've seen Jack Kaiser play in a lot of roles, and I'm sure he will again this year. When he's inside, does that open the door for someone else at Rover? Or is it obviously your Rover becomes a nickel quite often? What do you kind of like for his versatility there, and how does that help someone else at Rover?
Yeah, I think the more he can do, it gives others opportunities, right? And so if Jack Kaiser is a one-position guy, we know Jack Kaiser is going to be on the field. And if he's a one-position guy, well, the guy behind him, it might be a younger guy, isn't going to get an opportunity to get on the field as much. But now if you got a guy like Jack that can play multiple positions, you can give those inside guys a break and get a younger guy or inexperienced guy on the field at that Rover position. So again, the guys on the field have to be able to do their job. But a guy that can do multiple positions creates an opening for another guy.
Back to your left, second row, Shaun Crwaford.
Hey, Coach, I wanted to ask about a couple guys I don't think we saw the last couple times we've been out there, Christian Gray and Prince Colley, just what their statuses are right now.
Christian had a knee scope Thursday. He had his knee scope, so he'll be out for the remainder of spring. And then Prince Colley is still in concussion protocol. It happened last Saturday, I think. So I hope to get him back this upcoming week and try to get some more reps out of him for Saturday, but he's in concussion protocol.
Okay. And then I think it was the start of the first time we talked to you this spring, you talked about the safety position, sort of evaluating it over the course of the spring and then maybe make, a decision on what you might do. So what you've seen from them and anything that might be going on in the future.
Oh, it's great, the depth. I mean, to have three guys at any moment that we rotate. Coach Golden does something really cool, and for the first couple of days, really all the practices, he's kind of have a different starting lineup. And part of that is Xavier Watts at safety, Ramon Henderson, DJ Brown, and those guys, all three of them are practicing at a high level. And then you get a guy like Ben Minnick, who practiced probably for 8 practices, and then he had a procedure on his thumb that he won't finish spring on the practice field. But it's really good to see. I'm trying to think if I'm forgetting any. Marty Hour. Is there any other safeties I'm forgetting? No, but it's really good to see those three that I'm talking about, right? DJ, Ramon, and Xavier really all play with the ones, really all continue to improve and practice at a high level.
Linebackers and safeties left. Plenty of options. Rotational. The guys that can play multiple positions will have a better chance of being on the field and more snaps.
Well, availability is I think is what's going to be key for Marcus Freeman in deciding who's rolling out there. Just because, like he said, everybody's playable. It's like, it ain't no guy, I think, in that linebacker, secondary, maybe even defensive line that they're unwilling to play. It just matters who's healthy. And I think that's a good problem to have, but it's also a challenge for those guys to stay healthy and stay competitive, because Marcus Freeman he's saying, I'm playing everybody. It is what it is.
All hands on deck? I guess so. But you talked about having that depth, feeling comfortable with the 1s and 2s and the depth on this roster. Has to be a good feeling. So let's talk about Lorenzo Styles. And before I get into Lorenzo Styles and giving some clarity to the situation, let's just go back and listen to when Marcus Freeman was actually asked about the Lorenzo Styles going to cornerback.
How you're trying to utilize Lorenzo Styles. We saw him on both sides of the ball now. What's the big picture moving forward with Styles?
Yeah, Katie kind of brought that up to me. So How much did you guys see him in DB the other day in practice? One play? One play. No, it's good. That's he's kind of experimenting a little bit with him. I think he has a lot of athletic abilities that could really help us on both sides of the ball. The problem is he hasn't spent much time in the defensive film room with the defensive coaches. And so we said in one-on-ones, hey, every once in a while go get a rep of DB. And the one rep he got the other day was a really good rep. And I told him, like, hold on now. Like, this road to where you want to go is bumpy on either side of the ball, right? It isn't always going to be that easy. But we're kind of experimenting with him on both sides. He'll probably get a little bit more DB work next week. And then I foresee him in the spring game probably playing a little bit on both sides. Today was all receiver. Today all he played was receiver.
Okay. So Marcus Freeman was, someone followed up with the question, and Marcus Freeman explained, it's his decision. It's something that I talked about with him because I saw certain traits. I'm from Ohio. He's from Columbus, and Ohio State wanted him at a defensive back as long as other Power 5 schools. He's a good defensive back. So, as a defensive guy, I saw certain traits. Ultimately, it's his decision. And moving forward, it is. I just want to give some background. It's funny to me, Left, because it's fair to call last season a tragic season as far as Lorenzo Styles Jr. Lorenzo Styles Jr. is a young man that takes things very seriously. And football was maybe a little bit it took up too much of his time. He wanted it a little bit too bad as far as taking that next step. And the funny thing is, the next step is something that we all expected coming off of his freshman campaign and coming off of the Fiesta Bowl performance. I think most of us would say we expected him to take a step forward and be the number one receiver or at least a 1A. He struggled catching the ball. He struggled with some assignments. He struggled transitioning. And there were probably some other things that added to that don't need to be brought to light. But last season was a struggle. But the one thing that's never left Lorenzo Styles is his work ethic. Hey, just look at his frame. Like, if you just go out to practice and you look at his guns in comparison to the rest of the wide receivers, you see how much work he puts in the weight room. So work is not the problem. Leadership is not the problem, because he's very well respected in the wide receiver room. He wants to be an impact player for Notre Dame. That's it. He badly wanted to be an impact player for Notre Dame last year. He failed. He admits that. He knows that. But he's kind of matured. I think people don't understand. Like, to mature in life kind of goes hand in hand with maturing on the football field. Because having early success, you have that early success, and sometimes you think it's going to be just as easy. And things don't come just as easy. Of course, we could throw the quarterback situation in there and things being problematic. It was problematic for the entire wide receiver room. But with all of that being said, if he indeed decides to make the move to defensive back, he's making the move to defensive back to be on the field, to be an impact player for Notre Dame, because that's what he wants to be. Let it not escape you, Notre Dame fans, that he did not come to Notre Dame or choose Notre Dame because of football. He chose Notre Dame because of the full package, the 4 for 40 that Malik and Shaun Crwaford spoke about earlier in the show. And I think his life has kind of expanded. He's added certain things that he cares about just as much besides just Notre Dame football. And it's kind of loosened him up a little bit. And I think as he's become loosened up, I think you're going to see him open his mind to certain things. and Marcus Freeman speaking to him about playing both positions or possibly going to the other side. And Marcus Freeman told him flat out that the journey to what you want to be, I want to point this out. The journey to what you want to be is going to be hard either way. Why is Marcus Freeman saying that? Because he wants to be that guy that came out of the Fiesta Bowl and the expectations were he was going to take the next step. He wants to take that next step at receiver. But a lot of things have changed at receiver. I'll leave it at that. New coach, more youngsters. It's a lot of things that changed at wide receiver. So for him, his happiness is, how do I allow myself to impact winning at Notre Dame? Yes, I was there when everybody overreacted to him having one rep. That's why Marcus Freeman was laughing. He literally took one rep. But it was funny because it was portrayed as if he spent practice playing with the DBs. He literally took one-on-one rep. That's it. And it morphed into Notre Dame is trying him out at defensive back because they're not happy with him at wide receiver. And it has nothing to do with it. It has nothing to do with it.
They tried Jalen Milrose out at receiver at the bowl game, and he's supposedly leading in the race for QB at Alabama.
So I just want to give clarity. If the move is going to be made, as Marcus Freeman pointed out, it's going to be his decision. And it's going to be a decision made because he's going to feel like it's the best chance for him to make impact plays and be on the field more, to be able to do that. Because this young man is about Notre Dame. That's what he's about. He's about Notre Dame, and he's about winning football games. There's no one more upset with the way last year went than him.
No, for real.
But if anybody's out there, I'm not saying, if anybody's out there putting out a narrative like he's a problem and all of this and all of that, we heard stuff about him transferring. He wasn't transferring. If he was giving thought to transferring, it had zero to do with him being a problem.
Right.
Just because I disagree with somebody, it doesn't mean I'm a problem. Me and Left disagree on certain things. That doesn't make him a problem. We just disagree. He chose to go through a season to figure it out, and he chose to stay at Notre Dame because that's where he wants to be. Why? Because his decision to come to Notre Dame was never about, it was about football, but the primary reason was about the things bigger than football. So why would he leave Notre Dame when things got tough?
That's true.
So, I just want to give clarity, man. And I'm pretty confident in the sources that I have on the situation that this young man has gone above and beyond, not only this year, but even last year, to continue to put in the work and continue to be a leader and be a positive influence for Notre Dame football at the University of Notre Dame. So
I think he's in a very similar situation as a Chris Tyree, more trying to find your role as you have progressed in age on the team.
Yeah.
I think he definitely missed the window of what everybody else expected him to be like at receiver. And it's probably frustrating for him as a player. He's looking at the time tick down, and he's like, man, I haven't been able to really get any roots as a real threat on the team. My boy didn't play last year. We got a whole new system. These young cats, these guys really like, similar to Chris Tyree. It's like, look, the running back room's deep, just like the receiver room's deep.
Yeah.
And we like you. We don't want you to leave or nothing, but that window happens whether you like it or not. So he's finding an opportunity to play where he can. Shoot, it might be something open at DB. It happened for Xavier Watts. I mean, Lorenzo Styles has, like you said, he's built and he's committed his body to be able to play different things, and he's fast as hell. He definitely takes things very serious. So I know his decisions are more calculated than they are frivolous. But, I also know he's been through a lot of different things as a college student as well that, everybody, things affect people differently, So I think he looks good at corner. Like Marcus Freeman said, now, shoot, you just trying to be versatile enough to put some good film together to find your way on the field somewhere. And I think if anything, Styles is at the right team because damn near the whole team is a bunch of two-way players in their own right. So this is another transition for another athlete that we have on the team. We don't even recruit positions no more. The only position we recruit is quarterback. Everything is just an athlete. Are you fast? Have you got film on offense and defense? All right, you can be looked at by us.
Yeah. So he took one rep against a pretty good receiver, and basically the receiver couldn't get 5 yards down the field.
That first rep when you transition is aggression. So you just mad you over there. So you just
he definitely gave him the aggression rep. Like
no technique. No, they're like, oh, we can work with that. It's one of those. I don't know what I'm doing, but you're not doing nothing either.
Yeah. It is. That's pretty much it, man. I hope I gave some clarity to the situation for Notre Dame fans. I felt like Marcus Freeman said some things and probably had no need to go any deeper into it. But, the man took one rep. Literally. It wasn't even live. It wasn't even 7-on-7. It was just literally just one-on-one. He took one rep. And all of a sudden, everything just blew up like this dude has been cross-training. You know what I'm saying? The entire spring. And, and him doing that had people trying to connect the dots. Him doing that had nothing to do with transferring. And, man, look, these young men, a lot of these young men at this university go through a time where they have to make the decision.
Yeah, man.
Am I going to stick it out?
Yeah, am I going to stick it out? Or I'm going to get this degree and go somewhere?
Hey, so, man.
Hey, that's the biggest big boy decision you'll make at Notre Dame if you're not like a Will Fuller where you just everything just works out so perfect. You know what I mean? Damn, bro. You just a 3-year starter, the guy in front of you got hurt, and you just never look back kind of thing.
Yeah. So he's fine, man. He's fine. He's going to play a lot if he stays a receiver. And if he chooses to switch, he's making that decision because he's going to play a lot. And what Marcus Freeman talking about, Christian Gray having his knee scope, even though they expect him to be ready for fall camp. Hey, you never know. You never know. Lucky Lefty podcast. Here we go. Luck. Jay Lamont says, who are your starting 3 wideouts?
JT, Tyree, and Tobias. Yeah, I think I'll do something with that. JT, Tobias, and Tyree. We might let's round win something. And then give me Mitchell Evans or something in there. Eli Holston. It don't matter the tight end because they all the same. They all good.
You know me. Come out 4 wide.
Shoot. 4 wide. I'm going for JT, Dion, Chris Tyree, and Tobias.
Man. Great show today. Thank you to Shaun Crwaford. Thank you to LL Nation, Notre Dame fans, college football fans that tuned in. We love what we do. Once again, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, CFB Nation in conjunction with Irish Breakdown. All of our great content. Leave us 5 stars. We greatly appreciate it. Leave your comments. We respond to all. Go lock in with CFB Nation right now. Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Search CFB Nation. and you're in tune with us from this day forth. We greatly appreciate you. YouTube, subscribe. Make sure you hit that thumbs up. Hit that like button for us. Left, you know what time it is.
Petticoat, petticoat, petticoat junction.
It's time to get petty.
Oh, we did a good job executing.
Are you upset with something?
And fire up the Petticoat Junction train.
I just don't like you.
You don't?
No.
What is today's petty history? Petty Junction.
Petty Junction, Petty Story of the Day, brought to you by Onora Whiskey, OnoraWhiskey.com, that premium American whiskey, OnoraWhiskey.com. Who do you have on the Petty train, Left?
Oh man, probably Skip Bayless. Always hating on LeBron with these tweets, man. Just he's somebody that can objectively always find fault in something. I just think it's hilarious. Because, you know, LeBron can shoot a full court shot and be the first to tweet about it, but say, like, oh, he's 3 for 17 when the half court shot was amazing. So I didn't get to, I'm going to tune in to Undisputed after this, but, you know, Skip Bayless, man, tweet from the weekend. Even though it was a great sports weekend on a basketball level, I thought all the games were pretty good. But Lakers in 4 because John Morant's out. And, man, but other than that, it's been great.
NBA fans, and this video went viral. Look, man, stop it. Just stop it, man. Stop it, man. Stop. Sticking your chest out with your kids there don't make you tough, man. NBA player walking on the court to shoot around, and you feel like you can say what you want to say and then tell him, take it like a man. He's a man just like you.
That was a Clippers thing, right? With Wes Westbrook?
Yes. He's a man just like you. Take it like a man. What? So you can just say whatever you want to say, and you think just because he's a high-priced athlete, he has to take it.
Well, you know, Westbrook going to say something, though, every time.
All right. I keep telling people, man. I keep telling people, anybody, old boy's a chump. He's a chump. First of all, for him to do it in front of his kids lets you know where he's at.
Let you know where he's at.
It lets you know where he's at. Then to back up a couple of steps, you got security pushing you back. If you were really about it, push security to the side. But you're not. You're not.
I wouldn't either.
Just clown. And Kevin Durant on the petty train, man. Hey, man, go take the ball from Chris Paul old self in the fourth quarter, okay, man? Take it from him. I don't care. It's your team. It's your team. He is no longer Chris Paul. He is playing more like Cliff Paul right now.
He definitely let him just, I don't know what Kevin Durant was doing. I'm like,
fourth quarter, dude. It was like 4 straight possessions. He let Chris Paul run pick and roll. I'm like, for what? For what? For what? Like this dude, get the ball from Cliff Paul right now. Take it from him. Take it from him. But left before you came on.
Take it from him?
Just take it from him, man. Just go run and take the ball from him, man.
Give me that.
Good gracious. Before you came on, Left, I was talking about how disappointed I've been because it seems like injuries have just played a part. Injuries have ruined the NBA and the NBA playoffs for like the last 3 seasons, bro.
Yes.
And I'm just tired of it. I don't know if I can blame the players for not taking care of themselves. I don't know, man. I don't know, man. I feel like, Brandon Ingram was hurt the first 25 games.
For sure.
Zion has to play hard without BI. He gets hurt. and then Brandon Ingram comes back.
I don't know if I'm blaming Brandon Ingram for Zion's.
No, I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying, like, dude, when are we gonna see both of you all healthy at the same time? The New Orleans Pelicans roster is a playoff roster.
100%.
When healthy. The NBA needs Zion and BI in the playoffs.
Yes.
They need that. Do you know what we get to watch tonight at 9 o'clock? 7 o'clock your time?
A game not worth watching?
No, we're about to watch game 2 of Warriors and Kings.
Oh, no, yeah, that's the game.
That's pure entertainment.
I thought that was Tuesday.
No. That's pure entertainment.
That's pure entertainment.
Pure entertainment.
Probably the best.
Dude, I don't even give a darn about defense when I'm watching that game. I don't care if anybody plays defense. Y'all just play.
That might be a game. It was 130 to 100. There ain't no defense in that game anyway.
Dude, man, they walked up to that cat Mike Brown in the third quarter. He said, "I keep telling my guys to play faster." I'm like, "Play faster!" I'm like, "Oh my god, God, this is incredible! This is incredible!" He wants his dudes to play faster.
And I love Mike Brown because he's gonna go with it.
He's like, "Man, play faster." Yeah, and it's like, read between the lines. More. These dudes are old. We gonna run them.
Yeah, run step.
By the time we get to game 5,
it's gonna be a nice. They're gonna be a brick fest. They're gonna be tired.
And you saw the 3-pointers. Now I'll give you an honest opinion. When Steph hit the 3 in the corner with like 2 minutes left, I was like, "Oh, it's over."
Oh, but no, but
that's the normal. That's the normal Steph Golden State dagger.
Yes, the normal. That's the normal dagger.
And when that cat De'Aaron Fox came right back down and plopped that 3, I said, "Okay."
Yeah, hey, Hachi Hibachi. That man was what, 4 for 4 for the 3?
Dude, look, man. I told people that are talking crazy. I said, dude, Memphis is not. Man, I've been saying this all year, dude. Memphis won't do anything until they get rid of that trash dude that talks the most trash. Like, anytime a dude that stinks talks the most trash on their team, I already know what I need to know.
Yeah.
Dylan Brooks is huff.
Oh, man.
He's huffy like he might as well have pegs on the wheels like a huffy bike. He's huffy. Terrible. It doesn't do a thing on the court, bro. Not a thing other than get fouls. That's it. And Memphis without their 2 big dudes, they're not going to do anything, man. They're not. I'm really not even, man, I don't know, man. We might get 1 or 2 good series out of this playoffs left. Yeah. I'm unimpressed. I'm unimpressed to this point.
Yeah, it's pretty pitiful.
I'm unimpressed to this point. And just to think, the Miami Heat banged the Milwaukee Bucks, and they almost lost to the Bulls the other night to make the playoffs.
No, facts. Well, the Bucks without Giannis is what? A huff team?
Man.
They an average team, and then don't let Chris Middleton be cold. Then they really look terrible.
Man.
But that's okay. This is just propping up for the Lakers to take that easy path to the Western Conference Finals. Because this Memphis series is over. This Memphis series is done.
Now, I'll change my mind. Because I wanted Lakers and Warriors in the second round. That's what I wanted.
No,
that's what I want.
Lakers, Kings.
I want Lakers, Warriors in the second round. Whatever supplements, wink, wink, that LeBron James takes, he better up his dosage.
Same supplements Michael Jordan take. That's what he takes.
When they play the Sacramento Kings, he better up his dosage. That's all I'm saying.
They gonna run him out the building because he an old man for real. If they try to run Steph running ass around, they really gonna try to gas LeBron. They probably gonna guard him 94 feet. Because De'Aaron Fox got energy for 3 games.
Yo, who was it? It was somebody, what's his name? For the Celtics. He did an interview on a podcast and said he literally almost had a heart attack guarding Steph in the NBA Finals.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like that's how much that dude runs. He's like, I almost had a heart attack, bro. Watching him run is actual beautiful basketball, though. Watching him get the ball up and move was like, man, I would love to play with him.
Yeah, because you just can find him. He's just moving without the ball. He just throw it
And
over.
I'm not being disrespectful. I'm not being disrespectful. I promise you. I'm just talking about preference. I would much rather play with Steph than to play with LeBron. Me. No, this is just, I'm talking about my skill set, right? Because I like being involved with the play and I love passing. LeBron is going to hold the ball. That's what he does.
No, he's not.
Come on.
What are you talking about?
Bro, the majority of his career, LeBron has held the ball the majority of the offense.
Who else you want holding the ball on LeBron's team?
See, that's why. See, you need to get out of your feelings, man.
Get
out of your feelings. I tried to come to you. I tried to come to you with a If I tried to come to you with a hypothetical basketball conversation, and you immediately get into your feelings.
It's not my feelings. It's the truth.
Yes, it is your feelings. Because everybody is not a good fit. Everyone is not a good fit next to LeBron.
Hell not.
What are you talking about? His style of play.
It's not his fault.
I didn't say it was his fault. Stop being, dude. Stop feeling like you have to defend this dude like you his girlfriend or something, man.
I'm saying that. Listen. LeBron is the ultimate team player.
Agreed.
So how would you take a guy who is classified as a shooter, volume shooter, a better fit for you and your skill set as a teammate? It doesn't make sense.
Because I love setting picks and working off people that move with the ball.
And that's LeBron James.
I said, didn't I say that's a preference because from the way I play basketball? Did I not say that?
You would love
Did
to
I
play
not say that?
You would love to play with LeBron.
No, I would not. Because standing around in the corner watching him make a play is not what I want to do.
Stand around? You wouldn't stand around.
Oh
if you're standing around, that means that they're collapsing, so you get the open shot. You don't want to take an open three?
Go watch the game yesterday and tell me how much movement the Lakers actually have in their offense.
You'll be just like Dennis Schroeder taking the game.
Tell me, okay, off of what? Standing and watching LeBron dribble. I don't want to play like that.
Cause the defense to come in, and then you get the free three. Like Shaun don't want the game winner. That don't fit your style, Shaun, to take the game-winning shot? Because LeBron not going to take the game-winning shot. He going to give it to you. And you make the game-winning shot, get all the fame, all the glory, all the...
Dude.
I don't know, man.
Like I said, this is why you can't have a conversation around this dude, LeBron James, with Malik, man. I said the way I like to play basketball. Me. The way I like to play basketball. I would love to play with guys like Steph and Clay that pass the ball and move. That's my preference. Me has zero to do with LeBron James. That's me. I would rather play with Clay and Steph than Michael Jordan. That's me.
Well, because Jordan's a ball hog. You're not going to get no shots with Jordan.
Here we go.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. All right, man.
You'll be feeling like Scotty.
That's all I'm saying.
I agree with you, step over Jordan, because you're going to be feeling like Scotty if you play with Jordan. But step over Bron? You be playing in the finals most of your career
and be under 500 in the finals.
That's because they need you to be making them wide open threes.
And then you know who they would blame? They would blame us. Because
you ain't never
blame him. They would never blame him for anything. It's always us. Why
can't
he
do it all.
loses.
He can't do it all. If he give you wide open threes, why can't you knock him down, Malik Monk, who's going crazy for the Kings right now?
You know why? You know why? Because he's playing with his boy that he's used to playing with. He prefers to play with his boy that he's been playing with because of the style of play. I'm trying to teach you something. It has nothing to do with De'Aaron Fox being better than LeBron James. He prefers to play a different style with his boy. It's simple. That's
Are you
it.
trying to win or are you trying to be friends out there? That's what
He's winning. Is he not winning right now?
We talking about win when it counts.
Man, come on.
Finals.
Y'all have a great day. We'll be back tomorrow. Another great episode of the Lucky Lefty podcast. We'll talk offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, what they had to say after the scrimmage practice on Saturday, man. Have a great day, but most of all, make sure that you spin it different.